right, as opposed to just saying his name 3 times to start off here, I'm just going to let it roll, and maybe I'll say his name 3 times in this review, and good luck for me. Anyway, let's start off with the IMDb plot, which hopefully doesn't say his name so I can get off to an even worse start here. After a family tragedy, 3 generations of the Deetz family return home to Winter River. Still haunted by Beetlejuice, Linda's life is turned upside down when her teenage daughter, Astrid, accidentally opens the portal to the afterlife. Yeah, okay, so that's one down. Anyway, as you can see, for those who saw my top 10 list of 2024, I mentioned that this was a movie I had not seen. Finally got to see it. Again, I also mentioned in that review that I didn't imagine sticking that in my top 10 anyway, and I could say that, we'll see what I come up with at the end of this review, but probably wasn't going to be in my top 10 anyway. For those who saw the top 10, kind of the movies I was going for there. That's, not to say, good or bad about Beetlejuice. We're going to get it. Oh, I just said it again. I'm going to get into it in a second here. But, this is a long-awaited sequel, and that in it itself, makes me have mixed thoughts. It's this and remakes that, I think myself and, I would guess a good bunch of other horror fans, we kind of battle with here. You want it, but you don't want it. You like this movie, you like the first one. I think obviously if they had done a sequel long ago, it wouldn't have been an issue. You'd been like, yeah, it's all for it. Let's go. Let's have some more fun. But, now that it's been so long, it's like, did they do it for the right reasons? Did they do it for the money? Obviously, money's always involved. To me, I know a lot of horror fans are excited about Scream and having more Scream, and yeah, there is a level of excitement to it. It is one of the great slashers, and Ghostface is up there with all the rest, and the whole franchise and whatever. But I'm divided on that one too. It's like, when have we had enough? Like, what is actually going to be new, different, and blah blah blah. That's, we can discuss more once Scream 7 comes out. But again, I think, kind of jumping to my thoughts, after I watched this, I was like, yeah, okay. There's several, that enjoyment of it, and seeing it again, and kind of flashing back to moments of the first one and thinking about that one, and seeing that movie over and over. Every Halloween they show that movie. But then, realizing, did we really have to have that? After everything that went on in the movie, was it that important that it was done? Did we really need, did anything happen in this movie that was so important that we really needed it? I don't think so. I mean, it's good to kind of see where they place some of the characters many years later. You do learn a little bit more about who. And, and I guess, I credit them for that, because, whenever you do something more, you want, some more. You want to learn something more. Something that sometimes in remakes they just don't do, and it also annoys me. But, so we do learn a little bit more about him and his past, and so that's good. That was a good in the movie. And so I don't know. I guess just at the end of the day, yes, there was a level of enjoyment there, but at the end of the day, it's like, did they really have to do this? Maybe they could have done something different and bigger and whatever a long time ago as a sequel. But regardless, anyway, all that, whatever you want to call it, complaining, set up here, whatever. Let's talk a little bit about this one here. here we see Lydia. She's obviously, grown up now, different time. She's actually a parent now. She has a teenage daughter, so she's dealing with that. She's dealing with a really odd boyfriend who wants to marry her, but she's not really sure about that. And her first marriage or attempted marriage didn't go so well. And she has a show that she kind of does. I think it was on one of the, I don't know if it was produced or on YouTube or whatever it was, but she has a kind of a big kind of ghost show. She's kind of known for being able to talk to ghosts and so forth. So that kind of theme kind of followed her, even after. And, she has that going on. So, as it kind of rolls on, every once in a while she's kind of getting that feeling that he's looking or he's around. And, or she's getting that feeling, besides, all the other ghosts that she can or whatever see. She's specifically getting a feeling of him. So, you notice that something's up. On the other side, as far as him, he's kind of working in the underworld now. And, he's got a fleet of Bobs at his disposal. And I'll talk about Bob soon enough. And we get introduced to a new character here. And basically, it's his first wife, who early on in the movie kind of comes back to life. And a very good scene. I really enjoyed that scene. That was a little bit creepy, but really fun. Kind of how she came together, and then kind of has her way with a let's say Afterlife Danny DeVito kind of character, and the way. She's obviously the one of the bad people here in this movie. Usually, it's, in a way, it's sort of him, but in the first one. But here, she kind of takes the throne as that, and she basically sucks the dead life out of you. Anybody who's dead in the underworld there, she sucks whatever's left of you out, and then you are really over. You're dead already, but now you're really over. And so she's obviously, they kind of go through the history of him and her and what happened there. And you can kind of see why she's mad. She's mad with him, and she's looking for him. And, he eventually kind of gets wind of that. So, he's going to try to get away and play avoidance there. And, that's kind of, another end of it. So, as the movie kind of goes on, you see, Lydia moving closer to, to going to the old house, and moving closer to eventually having to come face to face with him again. And he's obviously moving in a direction to her because, not only does he still have a thing for her, but now his ex-wife is coming to get him. And, that's kind of the gist of it. But then we also have a new character here, and that's Lydia's daughter. And, she's not always happy with her mom. She's a typical teen. And, she's going through her own things. And she stumbles onto a boy who, befriends her, and they have their own kind of story going on here. So you're gonna have different couple of elements, some old things, some new things. So I thought that, they did a decent job of that as well, just kind of mixing in the old with the new. Like I said, it is good reminiscing. It's good, to kind of see some people in the previous characters. Her mom is back. Her dad is sort of back, and then I'll kind of leave it at that. They do an interesting thing with him. Very interesting, and I guess they made the best of it. I think it's a little bit glaring that Alec and Julia aren't back. Get the names right, whatever. But the two original ghosts aren't back, and they kind of make quick mention of that, and while they did some creative things to kind of explain away, like the father, explain, do a whole thing with him. I thought that explanation of them was kind of weak, and I think when the again, another reason why, if you had done a sequel a long time ago, you probably could have definitely involved them. Obviously, they were a central piece of the first movie, and definitely would have been definitely a good, piece to go into a second one. But now that you've done it, decades later, you can't get everybody, and you're missing two important pieces. Obviously, he's a huge important piece, and you have him, and you have, Lydia, and you have a couple of others, but, they're a huge piece. And I thought that, they just kind of washed them away. Like, okay, they just moved on, they finally got their going, and whatever they needed to accomplish in the afterlife, they've accomplished and moved on. And I thought that was a little weak for two very important characters. Like, if it was maybe somebody else, I'd been like, yeah, okay, well, maybe they didn't deserve the time. But I thought, they deserved a little bit more than they got. But whatever. So I at least they kind of cover their bases with getting you set up for this one, and character, and they actually didn't mention them till a little bit later on. So I thought maybe they would have mentioned them a little bit sooner than did as well. But whatever. So then that's the basic setups here, and then we have the usual kind of hijinks, or whatever you want to call them. He's going to eventually make his couple of appearances. You see him in the underworld, Michael Keaton again, just blows it away, playing the part. He's it's such a good character, and he just does such a good job with it. It's fun, all kinds of fun stuff. I don't necessarily know that he was better than in part one, and I don't think, I don't know how many would expect him to be better. But he was fun, definitely funny in certain parts. There's a scene where, that actually I thought went on just a touch long, and basically it's like a singing part, and I don't want to get into specifics, so I don't want to take everything away from those who haven't seen the movie yet. But basically it's a singing part, and it just seems to go on a little bit longer than I wanted, and I know there's a little bit of meaning in the song and blah, 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 and this, that, but I don't know. I had enough of it after a while. Obviously, he makes a touch to it. It's a little bit funny. It has some funny moments in it. But still, I thought they wore that on a little bit much. But yeah, he does a good job. Then, one of the things they did in the marketing, at least that I saw a lot of, was show this character Bob, which is the shrunken head guy. Another one of those, we see him in the first one sitting on the couch, and they kind of are like his sidekicks, his workers. He has like a whole fleet of them sitting at the desk, and there's one that's kind of in charge of all the other ones when he's not away. They're also a funny character that but with the marketing, I thought they were going to have a much bigger role in the movie. And while they're there, I didn't necessarily think that they really had that big of a role as they did. I guess it's just a character that they wanted to put out there to help, obviously unusual looking and so forth. But besides having him go around, and obviously one of the more normal characters, I guess they picked Bob to be that kind of marketing figure for the film. But at the end of the day, I didn't think that he filled that big of a role to do that, but whatever. It's another small issue there. But yeah, I again, I don't think it's not expected, but it definitely wasn't better than the first one. I thought they did some solid stuff story wise, bringing things back together. Maybe not so much with the original Ghost, but did something a little interesting with the husband. Almost kind of ended up, bringing it all about marriage again at the end. Obviously, there's still the connection between him and Lydia. So that I thought, she played Lydia well as this time around. Obviously, she's a lot older now, but still did a good job. It's a little weird seeing her as a mom, even though she was kind of struggling at that in the movie. But I thought she did a good job. I think all the characters who came back to play their role again, I thought did a fairly decent job of it, and kind of fit right back into that. Definitely interesting ending for a couple of the characters and so forth. Again, I don't want to give too much specifics away in case you haven't seen it, to kind of see where everything kind of plays out. But yeah, and we, you get, a lot of the some of the stuff that we had in the first one that you like as well, the Sandman and the underworld. Whenever they were in the underworld, they did seem to spend a lot of time with him. They did, follow another character too, but I almost think that maybe if they were to do a third part, or maybe they had done a sequel long ago and then maybe wanted to do other stuff, maybe a complete, movie, you'd almost could make it, if you wanted a what do you call, like a spinoff of it, of just that underworld life, like follow another character in it, and just kind of explore that, because it's interesting how some of the stuff they do. They bring in this train, and that's kind of a funny setup. Obviously, I think the more a little bit older you are, you may get that. Maybe if you're younger and don't know a certain thing, maybe it's not as funny as it might seem. But there's definitely a lot of interesting things going on there that could be explored, and maybe could be explored in its own movie. So, whilst, having a regular movie, kind of split time between the regular life and there, maybe it would be fun to see a whole movie under there, and kind of explore what goes on, kind of pick up a little bit off some of the themes in the first one, and then you can maybe combine with some of the stuff that we learned this time. I would be fascinated by that. I think they could do a good job, and even to not distract, and maybe not need a bigger budget, or at least with bigger stars. Follow maybe Bob, or like, I don't know, he doesn't really talk. That might be a little hard. But make up another character or two, or maybe some character we saw in the background or whatever, and kind of lead the way. I think that would be something interesting. Maybe not a blockbuster, but just something fun and whatever, and kind of to include in the franchise, or this world or whatever. Obviously where it leaves off, you never know. Maybe we get a third, maybe we don't. Maybe that's it. But if we don't, I don't think I'm going to be upset. I don't think they left it on a place where, like, I must have another. You've got me sucked right back in. I must have another. But, you never know. Maybe this, I didn't see how well the movie did, money-wise. Maybe it did, and maybe it encourages them to want to do another one. I don't know. But if this is it, I'm content with it. I mean, I think I was content with it even one. Like I said, if they had done a sequel long ago, I think that would have been fine, and would have been an all go, and so forth. But so many years later, it's like, okay, it was kind of good and refreshing to see again, but yeah. So I think at the end of the day, I'm going to just give this one 3 pools of blood. Probably giving it a little bit just because of liking him, liking the story, just liking this little universe they've created. But again, I wasn't blown away with it. There was some good, there's some bad. Little, like I said, little issue here and there. But I think basically my feelings are, when the movie kind of came to the end, I was like, okay, it was good to see him again, but if I had never seen this, I don't think I was losing out either. So, had I seen this and been like, oh my God, we must have more movies now, and they just did, blow away job and blah, 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 and this and that, then, I think, I'd give it a little bit more. But I think Three Pools of Blood is fair. Probably, like I said, probably giving it, a little bit more just because it is what it is. But that's going to be Three Pools of Blood out of 5. So that's it for You Know Who, You Know Who. I think I avoided saying it a third time, so I think I'm okay. So with that, horrorsquadereviews.blogspot.com is where you can find all of my reviews, written and video. Certainly mostly video reviews for a long time now, so you can like and subscribe and do everything everybody else does here on YouTube or wants you to do. So, but if not, it is okay, no worries. I thank you for your time regardless, and I will not sit you down and make you say his name 3 times and wish bad stuff on you. Twitter, Facebook information down below. Feel free to join me there. Talk horror, talk about this, reminisce about the original movie. And down in the comment section too, if you guys saw the movie, what you thought. Were you glad that you actually got to see a sequel? Or could you, kind of done without, or maybe in between where you're kind of like me, you wish they would have done it a long time ago, probably been better off. So yeah, so with that, I'll catch you in the next review, horror fans.